Nobody saw this coming. Blueface's return to the ring after 3 years was supposed to be a comeback story, but one viral exchange sent him flying through the ropes and changed everything. Now the loss is controversial, accusations are flying, and the internet is split. Was it a clean defeat, or something much deeper going on behind the scenes? Nobody saw this coming. Not the fans, not the fighters, not even Blueface himself. Because when he stepped back into that ring after 3 years away, the story already felt written. This was supposed to be a comeback, a controlled return, a dominant performance that reminded everyone he wasn't just a rapper playing fighter, he was a real problem in the ring. But within minutes, that entire narrative collapsed. And it all came down to one moment, one exchange. One clip that spread across the internet like wildfire. It happened fast, too fast. A hit, a stumble, and suddenly he was flying out of the ring. Just like that, everything changed. Now here's where things get messy, because Blueface later said it was just a push, nothing serious. But the internet didn't buy that for a second. Clips started flooding social media. People slowed it down, replayed it, zoomed in frame by frame. And the verdict was brutal. He didn't get pushed, he got rocked. From that exact moment, the fight shifted. The energy flipped. And the man who walked in looking like the favorite suddenly looked like he was fighting just to survive. But the real chaos, that didn't happen inside the ring. It happened right after. Because seconds after the loss, standing in front of the crowd, the cameras, and the man hosting the entire event, Blueface said something nobody expected. And that one statement didn't just surprise people, it sparked a full-blown controversy overnight. Suddenly, this wasn't just about a loss. Now the question was bigger. Was the fight even fair? And once that question hit the internet, everything started unraveling. To understand why this moment hit so hard, you have to go back to the beginning, because this wasn't just another random match. This was supposed to be a statement. When Blueface announced his return, expectations shot through the roof. And for good reason. This wasn't a beginner. People remembered what he had already done. The knockout, the confidence, the way he carried himself like he belonged in that space. And more importantly, they remembered who he had trained with. Names like Floyd Mayweather were being mentioned. Elite-level conversations. Real boxing credibility. So when he came back after 3 years, people didn't expect struggle, they expected domination. This fight wasn't supposed to be the main event. It was a warm-up. A tune-up before something much bigger already being planned behind the scenes. But that's where things started going wrong, because the fight everyone expected, it never happened. Originally, he was supposed to face another rapper, a more balanced matchup, something that actually made sense. But at the last minute, that fight got canceled. And the reason? Reports started circulating that his sparring sessions weren't going well. Think about that. A fight called off before it even started because things behind the scenes didn't look right. And just like that, everything shifted. Instead of a familiar opponent, he was matched up against a completely different type of challenge, a streamer making their boxing debut. On paper, it looked easier, but in reality, it turned out to be the exact opposite. Because while the opponent lacked experience, they came in with something dangerous, relentless pressure. And there was another factor most people overlooked: the weight. The version of Blueface that stepped into that ring wasn't the same one people remembered. Before, he was lean, fast, fighting around 157 pounds. Now, he came in much heavier. A massive jump that even professional fighters take years to adjust to. This wasn't just a physical change, it was a complete transformation. And while gaining weight can add power, it also comes at a cost. Speed, conditioning, control, the very things that made him effective before. So now you had a dangerous mix: experience, confidence, and training on one side, but a completely different physical reality on the other. And that kind of imbalance creates something risky: false confidence. Going into the fight, nobody questioned it. Fans believed it would be easy. Analysts called it routine. Even Blueface carried himself like this was just another step towards something bigger. And to be fair, at first, it looked like they were right. Round 1, clean, controlled. He used his reach, kept his distance, landed sharper shots. He looked technical, composed, exactly how people imagined. But then round 2 started and everything fell apart. The opponent stepped forward, closed the distance, and started attacking the body. The pace changed, the pressure built, and then it happened, that moment. The exchange that sent him into the ropes and out of the ring. Officially, it wasn't ruled a knockdown, but unofficially, the internet made its decision instantly. From that point on, the fight was never the same. Confidence turned into hesitation. Control turned into survival. The script flipped completely. The opponent took over, applying non-stop pressure, forcing mistakes, backing him into corners. And by the final round, this wasn't about winning anymore. It was about lasting. What was supposed to be a comeback turned into a viral moment for all the wrong reasons. And now, the conversation isn't just about what happened in that ring. It's about everything that led to it and everything that comes next. Now this is where everything turns up. Because despite the pressure, despite the damage, despite the moment that had already gone viral, Blueface didn't go down. He stayed on his feet. He absorbed the shots. He made it to the final bell. And for a brief second, it looked like maybe, just maybe, he had done enough to survive the storm. But then the scorecards were read. Unanimous decision. Clear final, no debate, at least officially. And that's when everything truly exploded. Because losing the fight, that wasn't the real story. That was just the trigger. What happened next turned this from a simple boxing match into a full-blown controversy that nobody could control. Instead of walking away quietly, instead of taking the loss, regrouping and moving on, Blueface did the exact opposite. Right there in the ring, under the lights, in front of the crowd, the cameras and millions watching online, he made an accusation. And not just any accusation. The kind that instantly changes how people look at everything that just happened. Because now, this wasn't just about a loss anymore. Now it was about whether the fight was even fair in the first place. And the moment that idea hit the internet, everything went off the rails. See, normally this is where a story ends. The fight wraps up. The winner celebrates. The loser gives the usual "I'll be back" speech. The crowd reacts, clips circulate for a few hours, and then it fades. But this time the decision wasn't the ending. It was the beginning. Because instead of stepping out of the spotlight, Blueface stayed right there in the center of it. Right next to the man who had organized the entire event, Adin Ross. At first it looked routine, a standard post-fight exchange. Adin Ross stepped in, asking the question everyone expected. Are we going to see you back here again? Simple, clean, a normal way to close the night. But Blueface wasn't in a normal state of mind. Because instead of giving a calm answer, instead of brushing it off, he said something that instantly froze the entire moment. You know damn well you ain't going to lose your own money on your own fight card. Silence. Not confusion, not laughter. Silence. Because everybody understood exactly what that meant. And just like that, the narrative shifted. This wasn't just frustration anymore. This wasn't just emotion after a tough loss. This was an accusation, direct, public, and impossible to ignore. What he was suggesting was heavy, that the fight, the decision, maybe even the entire event, wasn't as fair as it looked. And he didn't stop there. Still standing in the ring, still in front of the cameras, he doubled down. He made it clear he didn't agree with the decision, that the scoring didn't make sense, that something about the outcome felt off. And later, when the cameras were off and the streams were live, he pushed it even further. I'll never fight on that platform again. That wasn't heat of the moment emotion anymore. That was a statement. And now the situation had officially escalated. Because accusing a promoter, especially publicly, of manipulating outcomes, that's not small, that's explosive. And the internet caught it instantly. Within minutes, clips of the exchange were everywhere. People weren't just watching, they were dissecting. Every word, every tone, every facial expression. Slowed down, replayed, analyzed from every angle. And just like that, the focus shifted. Not from the fight, but to the allegation. But here's where things take another turn. Because Adin Ross didn't stay quiet. He responded immediately, right there in real time, denying everything, saying he had no idea what Blueface was talking about, insisting that nothing was manipulated, nothing was controlled, nothing was rigged. Two completely different stories. Two completely different perspectives. And now the audience had to decide who they believed. But the situation didn't stop there. Because the deeper people looked into the event, the more questions started to surface. And this is where things got complicated. Because it wasn't just Blueface's fight anymore. Other fights on the same card started getting attention. Close decisions, questionable scorecards, unexpected outcomes that didn't sit right with viewers. Suddenly, what looked like one isolated complaint started feeling like part of something bigger. A pattern. Now, does that prove anything? No. But does it make people think twice? Absolutely. Because now the conversation shifted again. Was Blueface just reacting emotionally to a loss? Or was he pointing out something that others were starting to notice too? That's what made this situation so messy. Because inside the ring, the footage tells one story. His opponent pushed forward, applied pressure, and clearly controlled the later rounds. But outside the ring, the story was completely different. Debates flooded every platform. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere. People arguing, analyzing, breaking it down. Did he actually lose? Was the scoring fair? Did the judges get it wrong? And then someone brought up something that pushed everything even further. This wasn't supposed to be a high-stakes fight. This was supposed to be a tune-up, a warm-up, a confidence builder. And instead, it turned into a loss, which raised a much bigger question. If this was the easy fight, then what happens next? Because looming over all of this was something bigger, a future fight, a bigger opponent, a bigger stage, a matchup that had already been announced, already being promoted, tickets already moving. And now, everything about it felt uncertain. Because if Blueface struggled here, against someone making their debut, what happens when he steps into the ring with someone more experienced, more prepared, more dangerous? Suddenly, that upcoming fight didn't look like an opportunity anymore. It looked like a risk. And that's when the pressure started building. Not just from fans, not just from critics, from the industry itself. Because now every move mattered. Does he accept the loss and move forward? Does he keep pushing the accusation? Does he pull out of the next fight entirely? Every option comes with consequences. And here's the most dangerous part. Because while the internet was debating, while fans were arguing, while clips were going viral, the situation between him and Adin Ross was getting worse. Because once accusations like that are made publicly, there's no going back. You can't undo it. You can only escalate. And that's exactly what was happening. Behind the scenes, things were getting tense. Reports started circulating that the relationship was already beyond repair. No more collaborations, no more events, no more working together. Just silence and tension. But it didn't stop there. Because the fallout from this moment didn't just affect the fight. It affected everything connected to it. His reputation, his upcoming match, his position in the influencer boxing world, and most importantly, the way people saw him. Because now he wasn't just the guy who lost. He was the guy who made a serious accusation, live in front of the world. and whether that accusation is true or not. It changed everything. But then the internet did what the internet always does. It took it to another level. The moment those clips hit social media, it was over. Not just the fight, not just the night. Any chance of controlling the narrative, gone. Because within minutes, Blueface wasn't just trending. He was being dragged from every direction. Every platform turned into chaos, Twitter threads blowing up, TikTok edits going viral, YouTube breakdowns dropping within hours. And the reactions? They weren't light. They weren't playful. They were brutal. Big names started chiming in. Rappers, streamers, influencers, even people who had nothing to do with boxing suddenly had something to say. And the tone? Ruthless. Some people mocked the loss outright, turning the moment he flew through the ropes into instant memes, looping the clip over and over again like it was a highlight reel, but for all the wrong reasons. Others focused on the accusation, because now there were two conversations happening at the same time. On one side, people clowning him. Bro got knocked out the ring and still talking about rigged. On the other side, people asking questions. Was something off? Was the scoring fair? Did the judges miss something? And just like that, the narrative split in two. Two completely different realities. In one, this was simple, he lost, clear and fair. In the other, this was something deeper. Something questionable. And the truth? It got buried somewhere in the middle. Because once the internet locks onto a moment like this, it stops being about facts. It becomes about perception. And perception is everything. Now the real question isn't just what happened in that ring. It's what happens next. Because comebacks are built on moments like this. But so are downfalls. And right now, Blueface is standing right in the middle of both. On one side, people weren't holding back at all. The criticism was sharp, direct, and brutal. He's blaming the judges, but after round one, he got dominated. That wasn't a robbery, that was a reality check. And honestly, for a lot of viewers, that was the simplest explanation. They watched the fight, saw the momentum shift, saw the pressure build, and to them, the outcome made sense. Clean, clear, no controversy needed. But on the other side, a completely different conversation was taking over. Because not everyone was laughing. Some people were asking questions. Real questions. Why were multiple fights on that same card being called controversial? Why did several scorecards feel off? And why did even the promoter admit that some of the judging looked questionable? Suddenly, Blueface didn't sound as crazy to certain parts of the audience. Maybe, just maybe, he had a point. And that divide, it didn't calm things down. It made everything louder. Because now it wasn't just one narrative. It was two completely different realities colliding at the same time. But then something happened that took this to another level. This wasn't just fans arguing anymore. This wasn't just social media noise. Now, real fighters started speaking. People who actually understand boxing at a high level. People who don't just react, they break things down. And one voice in particular cut through all the chaos. Claressa Shields. When she spoke, people listened. Because she didn't come with emotion, she came with analysis. And what she said, it didn't help Blueface. She pointed out something simple but brutal. Public figures need at least 6 months of serious training before stepping into a real fight. No shortcuts. No skipping steps. Translation: he wasn't ready. And just like that, the narrative shifted again. Because now, this wasn't about rigging. This was about preparation. Discipline. The difference between being a celebrity and being a fighter. But here's where things got complicated again. Because even while criticizing him, she didn't completely shut the door on his argument. She admitted the fight was competitive, that it wasn't completely one-sided, that while she believed the opponent won, it wasn't a complete blowout. And that changed everything. Because now the question wasn't simple anymore. Was it a clear loss? Or just not the robbery he claimed? That gray area kept the debate alive. And while the internet argued, things behind the scenes were getting worse. Because this situation wasn't just about one night anymore. It was starting to affect his future. That upcoming fight, the big one, the one already being promoted. Now it was in danger. Fans started asking the question nobody wanted to answer. Should this fight even happen? And the truth, there wasn't a clear answer. Because if he moves forward and loses again, it's over. His credibility in the boxing world, gone. But if he pulls out, it looks like he's running. And in this space, that's just as damaging. He was stuck. No good options. Only consequences. And then another layer of drama hit. Because now, his own team got pulled into the spotlight. His manager, his circle, the people who were supposed to control the situation. They became part of the story. Clips started surfacing. Tension outside the event. Arguments with security. Frustration building before the fight even started. And suddenly, people weren't just looking at what happened inside the ring. They were asking something deeper. Was everything already off before he even stepped in? Because if the environment was chaotic, if things were already going wrong behind the scenes, then maybe that energy carried into the fight. Maybe the loss didn't start in round 2. Maybe it started hours earlier. But then came the twist nobody expected. Because out of nowhere, another name entered the conversation. NLE Choppa. And this wasn't random. There was history there. Tension. Unresolved energy that never fully disappeared. And the timing couldn't have been worse. Because instead of staying quiet, NLE Choppa stepped in publicly. Called him out. Challenged him. Told him to step into the ring. Just like that, the pressure doubled. Now it wasn't just about recovering from a loss. It was about defending his reputation against someone who had been waiting for this moment. And this is where everything connects. Because this loss, it doesn't exist on its own. It's tied to everything else in his life. The rivalries, the controversies, the personal situations, the image he's built over time. All of it now linked to this one moment. This one fight. This one night the entire internet watched in real time. And in today's world, that's all it takes. One moment, one clip, one narrative to change everything. Because now, no matter what he does next, this follows him. The clip, the fall, the accusation, it's all part of his story now. And the craziest part, we still don't know how this ends. Because if the reaction so far has been this intense, then what comes next might be even bigger. Because the internet, it doesn't forget. And right now, it's watching his every move. By this point, this wasn't just a fight anymore. This wasn't even just about losing. This had turned into a full-blown internet storm. The kind that pulls everyone in. Fans, critics, rappers, boxers, even people who had never watched a fight before. Because once those clips went viral, there was no escaping it. That moment, him getting sent through the ropes, that became the image, the meme, the replay, the thing people couldn't stop watching. And the comments, relentless, Some fans didn't hold back at all. He trained with legends, just to get tossed out the ring by a debut fighter. This wasn't a loss. This was a wake-up call. You can't call it rigged when you were getting pressured the whole fight. But again, that wasn't the only side. Because not everyone was laughing. Some people were digging deeper, breaking it down, analyzing everything. Why were multiple fights controversial that night? Why did even Adin Ross admit the judging looked off? Why did the scorecards feel so wide? And just like that, the internet split again. Because now it wasn't just about skill. It was about trust. Trust in the judges. Trust in the promotion. Trust in what people were actually watching. And once doubt enters the conversation, it spreads fast. But the reactions didn't stop with fans. Inside the industry, people started talking too. Not directly at first. Not calling names. But sending messages. Subtle. Calculated. One artist posted, "Some people step in the ring for clout, others step in ready." Another wrote, "You can't skip the process and expect the same results." No names, but everyone knew exactly who they were talking about. And just like that, the tone shifted again. Because now this wasn't just entertainment. It became a lesson, a warning about what happens when preparation doesn't match expectation. But then things got uncomfortable. Because the conversation started getting personal. People weren't just talking about the fight anymore. They were talking about him, his past, his time away, his lifestyle, his choices. And suddenly, the loss wasn't just a loss. It became a reflection. 3 years out of the ring. Came back heavier. Didn't look conditioned. Every detail analyzed. Every moment judged. And in today's world, that kind of attention doesn't fade. Meanwhile, inside the boxing community, the tone was different. Less emotional. More technical. But just as serious. Fighters broke it down. The weight difference. The conditioning. The pacing. They walked through the rounds, explained the momentum shift, showed how pressure changed everything. And the conclusion. Simple. He got outworked. Not completely outclassed. But outworked. Outpressured. Outlasted. And hearing that from people who actually understand the sport. That hit differently. But even with all that, the controversy didn't go away. Because the accusation was still there. Hanging in the air. Rigged. Tampered. Unfair. And until that gets addressed properly, it doesn't disappear. It lingers. And that's exactly what's happening. Because now, every time someone talks about the fight, they're not just talking about what happened. They're talking about what might have happened. And that possibility, it keeps the story alive. But here's the most interesting part. While the internet is loud, while fans are arguing, while critics are breaking everything down, the people at the center of it all, they've gone quiet. No major statements, no follow-ups, no clarification, just silence. And silence like that, it doesn't calm things down. It makes everything worse. Because when there are no answers, people create their own. Rumors grow. Stories change. Narratives evolve. And slowly, the truth becomes harder to find. Which leads to the biggest question of all. Why stay silent? Is it strategy? Is it legal? Is it because something bigger is happening behind the scenes? Or is it because this situation still isn't over? Because one thing is clear, this isn't over. Not even close. And if the reactions so far have been this intense, then whatever comes next could take this situation to a completely different level. Because right now, the entire internet is watching, waiting, analyzing every move made by Blueface. And just when it felt like the story had already peaked, just when it seemed like everything had been exposed, that's when the narrative took a turn nobody expected. Not because of something loud, not because of another viral clip, but because of something quiet. While everyone was busy arguing, clowning, debating whether the fight was fair or not, a small detail started circulating in the background. At first, it barely got attention. It wasn't trending. It wasn't being pushed. It was just sitting there, buried under the chaos. But once people noticed it, everything changed. Because according to multiple whispers, nothing confirmed, nothing official, something may have been off before the fight even started. Not inside the ring, not during the rounds, but behind the scenes. And if even part of that is true, then what we saw that night might not have been the full picture. So take a step back for a second. Remember how the original fight got canceled at the last minute. Remember how the opponent was suddenly switched. Remember how everything felt rushed, almost thrown together. At the time, it raised eyebrows. But now, people are connecting the dots, because some are claiming that the replacement opponent, T, the streamer making his debut, wasn't as unprepared as everyone thought. That behind the scenes, he had been training longer than expected. Quietly, strategically, getting ready for a moment exactly like this. And if that's true, then this wasn't just a last-minute replacement. It was a setup that looked like an opportunity. Now let's be clear, there's no official proof of this. No confirmed reports. But the timing, it's raising questions. Because how do you go from a canceled fight to a completely new opponent who somehow comes in and dominates the later rounds? That's the part people can't stop thinking about. And then came the second twist. Because insiders didn't just point at the opponent. They pointed at something bigger. The judging. Not just in this fight, but across the entire event. Multiple close fights. Controversial scorecards. Unexpected outcomes. And even comments from Adin Ross himself suggesting that some decisions looked off. And suddenly, that one accusation, the one most people dismissed at first, started to sound different. Because what if? Just what if? There was something happening behind the scenes. Again, no proof, but enough smoke to make people wonder if there's fire. And this is where things get even more intense. Because while all of this is unfolding, while theories are spreading, while the internet is breaking everything down, there's one thing nobody can ignore. The silence. Because Blueface hasn't fully explained anything. No detailed breakdown. No clear clarification of what he meant. Just that one moment. That one accusation. And then nothing. And on the other side, same story. No deep response. No full explanation. Just short denials. Controlled. Careful. And when both sides stay quiet like that, it usually means one of two things. Either everything has already been said, or there's something they're not ready to say yet. And that second possibility, that's what's making people uncomfortable. Because if there are details we haven't seen, if there are conversations happening behind closed doors, if there's more to this story than what was shown on camera, then what we've seen so far might only be the surface. And now, one question is hanging over everything. The next fight. The big one. The one that was supposed to define what comes next. Is it still happening? Because if it does, all eyes are going to be on it. Not just to see if he wins, but to see how he responds. Does he come back sharper, more disciplined, more prepared? Or does this moment follow him into the next fight? Because in boxing, momentum is everything. And right now, that momentum is gone. And if he steps into that next fight and loses again, that's not just another loss. That becomes a label, a narrative that sticks. But if he wins, everything flips again. Because suddenly, this moment becomes something else. Not an ending, a setback. And that's why this situation feels so intense. Because it's not finished. It's still unfolding in real time. Every decision matters now. Every move gets watched. Every word gets analyzed. And the craziest part, we still don't know the full story. Because if even half of these rumors are true, then what really happened that night might be completely different from what we saw. And if that's the case, then the biggest reveal might still be coming. So now the question shifts. What happens next? Does the truth finally come out? Or is this one of those stories that only gets deeper the more you dig? Because one thing is certain. This isn't over. And whatever comes next might be even bigger than the fight itself. Now it's your turn. After everything, the fight, the viral moment, the accusations, the reactions, there's still one thing nobody can agree on. What actually happened that night? Do you think Blueface took a clean loss and just couldn't accept it? Or do you believe there's something deeper going on behind the scenes? Something we're only starting to see? Be honest, because this isn't just about boxing anymore. This is about reputation, credibility, and what happens when everything plays out in front of millions of people in real time. And what about that moment everyone keeps replaying? The clip, the one where he goes through the ropes. Was it just a push? Or was that the exact second the fight turned against him? And here's the bigger question. If the judging really was questionable across multiple fights that night, does that change how you see the result? Or does what happened inside the ring still tell the full story? Drop your opinion. Say it clearly. Was he robbed? Or did he lose fair and square? Should he take a rematch? Or walk away completely? And do you think that next fight actually happens? Or is it already in danger? Don't sit on the fence. Pick a side. Because this debate, it's only getting bigger. And if you've made it this far, then you already know. This isn't just another viral moment. This is one of those situations that keeps evolving. And if anything, new drops, real proof, unexpected twists, anything at all, we're breaking it down immediately. So stay locked in. Because the next update, it might change everything you think you know about this.